Manchester United 2, Sunderland 0, and this was the most boring, and I'm so happy to say it, the most boring win in the Ruben Amorim era. 2-0 versus a newly promoted team who has been performing really well, by the way, in the Premier League. They are still ahead of us on the table. But yeah, this was a much needed boring win. Yeah, I would have liked 4-0, 5-0, something like that. And it kind of sort of looked like that in the first half. But they changed to a more conservative back five after the second goal. We didn't create a lot in the second half, but we also didn't concede a lot of chances besides that weird mistake that we did in the 19th minute. And they almost scored, which would have made it unnecessarily interesting at the end. But luckily, Lammens, maybe even the player of the game. I mean, he did make 2 or 3 good saves. It was sort of refreshing for a goalkeeper to not make mistakes. Yeah, so I am so happy for Lammens. I'm so happy that we won a boring 2-0 win. When it comes to certain individual players who have been struggling, I want to give a huge shout out to Ahmad, who played a great game. I want to give a shout out to Benjamin Sesko. For me, I mean, besides Lammens, probably the player of the game. And it's really interesting about Sesko because when we bought him, I thought that it's kind of unnecessary because we bought Cunha, we bought Mbeumo, and I thought maybe Xerxes could be a number 9 or maybe some combination of Mount and Bruno Fernandes and then Mainu and Casemiro in the midfield. But I feel like Sesko has sort of been the best of Cunha, Mbeumo, and Sesko trio because Mbeumo has not been clinical. He only has 1 Premier League goal. And yes, he has created chances. Yes, he has had shots on target. But he's either getting denied by the goalkeeper or he's making bad finishes. So I'm not really that high on Mbeumo right now. Cunha had that little bit of an injury. There are question marks about his selfishness. He didn't score a goal yet. So, you know, I mean, he is coming from Wolves, which is a small market team. And then he comes to Manchester United and, you know, the style of play is different. The atmosphere is different. You have to maybe not rely on your individual talent that much and maybe pass the ball around a bit more. But anyways, it's not a day to criticize players. I'm really happy for Benjamin Sesko. I think besides the goal, I mean, it felt like that's a real striker, like winning headers, being around, pressuring, winning balls, winning loose balls. Yes, he lost a couple, but he also won a couple. Just a presence of a true number 9 changes the game. We didn't have that with Højlund. We didn't have that with Weghorst. I mean, when did we last time have a true number 9? Like, I understand it's too early to say, but I really enjoyed Benjamin Sesko. Bruno had a decent game. Casemiro had a decent game. Delo and Shaw were the 2 worst players on the pitch when it comes to our side. I still do not understand why do we keep playing Delo. He ends up in positions to either create a big chance or maybe even shoot a target, and he just messes up all the time. And defensively, he's a liability. Like in this, it's so weird. Like in this system, it feels like the wingbacks are the most important players. Like so many times, I'm going to use Patrick Dorgu as an example. Patrick Dorgu ends up in this position when he's sort of one-on-one or maybe has plenty of space, and then he has to make a decision. He either shoots or crosses, and it feels like Patrick Dorgu just plays these random crosses into the box, and if somebody runs onto it, it's fine. If not, it's not. But that's not good. But Delo is even worse. Delo just kind of like stumbles, dribbles, does nothing, loses the ball, and then defensively, he's not as good as Patrick Dorgu. So it's like, that position has to be addressed. I mean, at least Ahmad had a good game. I thought Euro had a good game. De Ligt had a good game. Shaw, I am not sure. I'm not trying to sound mean here, but the worst thing about Luke Shaw this year is that he's actually available all the time. Because in the past 2 years, he wasn't. And we sort of got used to not playing with Luke Shaw. We sort of got past Luke Shaw in a way. And then suddenly, since the end of last year, since the Tottenham final, Luke Shaw has been healthy all the time. And I do not wish an injury upon a player, but he's just not a starter on this team. Like, I'm not sure if he's going to be replaced by Lissandro when he comes back, but I don't know. I wish Heaven would play, actually, because Luke Shaw just keeps making weird mistakes all the time. He doesn't have the speed. He's not the same player that he used to be, and he's just not good. Like, him and Delo, if him and Delo were replaced by two decent players today, we win this game like 4-5-0. But I'm happy with 2-0. We still have a -2 goal differential. Right now we are 8th. We're probably going to end up being like 10th, 11th. When the week is done, after 7 games, we have 10 points. We have 3 wins, 1 draw, and 3 losses. I think, honestly, if you analyze these 7 games, you kind of clearly see that we are much better at home than on road. I'm not sure why, but we are. We also played crap teams at home, but we performed much well versus Arsenal, for example, who I think will win the title, actually, at home than, for example, at Brentford. At Brentford, we were horrendous. At Fulham, we were really shaky and questionable. So we played sort of 2 mid-table teams on the road, and we were crap. We also lost to City 3-0. Let's say City is the second or third best team in England. Like, it's fine, but we weren't in the game. We are really poor at road. We only have 1 point in 3 games. And at home, we actually, I know we lost 1-0, but when you look at that game, if we had a better goalkeeper, if we had a better finishing, maybe play goals here and there, maybe we could have actually beaten Arsenal. So it's 4 out of 4. So you look at that and like, why are we that much better at home than on road? I'm not sure. But anyways, now we're going to have this international break. Similar as we had a month ago, we're going to the international break off of beating a newly promoted team, which will take some pressure off of Amorim. And then let's see what happens. We play Liverpool. I don't actually think that Liverpool is that good. And I'm not saying this because they just lost to Galatasaray and they lost to fucking Crystal Palace. But every single time they won this year, which was 5 out of 5 in the first 5 Premier League games, they've done it in the last minutes of the game. And it's just not sustainable. And you're always going to have these weird nerds telling you that, well, that's how the big teams do it. They always find a way to win in the end. Listen, no big team wants to leave it until the 95th minute. And it was due for them to lose, and that happened versus Crystal Palace. They conceded in the 98th minute. So Liverpool just doesn't seem compact. The players that they bought seem off. Wirtz stinker so far. Ekitike stinker so far. Frimpong, so that team just doesn't look that good. Now, I'm not saying we're going to beat them, and we are actually really bad on the road, but I think that game may be tighter than a lot of you would have thought. Anyways, I'm happy for the win, or I'm happy with the win. I'll make a video a little bit later on Liverpool, actually, but let me watch the Chelsea game first. Thanks for watching. See you.